I didn't realize success could feel this empty. The thought came to Daniel on a Tuesday night, the kind of night that should have felt like a reward. He had just received confirmation of his latest promotion. The raise was generous. The title sounded impressive. This was the version of life he used to picture when he was younger. Daniel sat alone at the kitchen counter of his apartment, the laptop still open, the city lights glowing through floor-to-ceiling windows he rarely stopped to admire. The place was quiet, not peaceful, just quiet. Daniel was 37 years old. He worked in operations at a growing tech company. He wasn't famous. He wasn't rich enough to quit. But he was comfortable, at least on paper. His parents told their friends about him with pride. His co-workers respected him. People often said he was doing well. He used to believe that was the point. Daniel grew up in a house where money was always discussed in hushed voices. His father worked long hours at a warehouse. His mother kept careful track of bills at the kitchen table. Arguments didn't come from anger, they came from stress, from not knowing if the numbers would work out by the end of the month. As a kid, Daniel learned a quiet lesson. Money didn't buy happiness, but the lack of it brought constant fear. He promised himself he would never live like that. Stability became his goal long before happiness ever entered the picture. His assumption was simple and never questioned. If I work hard enough and succeed, life will feel safe. And once it feels safe, everything else will follow. So he built his life around that belief. He stayed late at work when others logged off. He volunteered for projects that came with pressure but visibility. He answered emails during dinners, during weekends, during vacations he barely enjoyed. When friends invited him out, he said he was busy. When his sister asked why he never visited, he said work was intense. When he felt tired, he told himself this was just what adulthood looked like. The promotions came gradually, each one reinforcing his belief. The raises followed. So did the expectations. Daniel moved into a nicer apartment, bought better clothes, ordered takeout more often because cooking felt like wasted time. His calendar filled with meetings. His phone buzzed constantly, and without noticing, his life began to shrink. He stopped playing guitar, something he used to love, because it didn't serve a purpose anymore. He stopped running in the mornings because sleep felt more efficient. He stopped dating seriously because relationships required attention he didn't feel he had. Rest started to feel uncomfortable. Silence felt unearned. Every time something felt off, he reminded himself how far he'd come. He compared his life to where he started and told himself he had no right to complain. This was success. This was the deal. The moment that changed everything didn't arrive with drama. One evening, Daniel came home later than usual. The apartment lights turned on automatically. He dropped his bag, loosened his tie, and sat down at the counter out of habit. His phone buzzed with a notification from his bank. His savings had finally crossed a number he'd been chasing for years. He stared at the screen longer than expected. There was no relief, no pride, just a dull sense of distance. Daniel looked around the apartment. Everything was exactly as he'd planned it. Clean, quiet, controlled. And suddenly, the silence felt heavy. That's when the thought appeared, clear and uncomfortable. I don't know who this life is actually for. It wasn't a breakdown. He didn't cry. He didn't make any big decisions that night. But the thought stayed. Over the next few weeks, Daniel started noticing things he had trained himself to ignore. How tense his shoulders were, even on weekends. How often he checked his phone without thinking. How conversations felt rushed, like obstacles between tasks. He realized he couldn't remember the last time he'd felt truly present, without thinking about what came next. One Sunday, he called his sister back instead of letting it go to voicemail. The conversation was awkward at first. They talked about small things. But when they hung up, Daniel felt something unfamiliar. Relief. He dug his old guitar out of the closet one evening. His fingers were stiff. He sounded terrible. But for 20 minutes, he wasn't checking the time. He wasn't productive. He was just there. Life didn't teach Daniel that success was wrong. It taught him that success without awareness can quietly erase you. He didn't quit his job. He didn't abandon ambition. He started leaving work on time one day a week. He said no to one project that didn't matter. He made space, slowly, for things that didn't advance anything except his sense of being human. The lesson came gently, not as a warning but as a truth. Security is important. Money matters. But if you build your entire life around avoiding fear, you may end up with a life that feels safe and empty. Daniel learned that success isn't just about what you gain. It's also about what you don't give up along the way. Because sometimes, the real cost of chasing success isn't burnout or stress. It's realizing you've been living someone else's idea of a good life and forgetting how to recognize your own.